I used to go out grassroots level and shoot mates' games every now and then for them. A bit of experience, a bit of playing around with cameras. And was here one day volunteering at the club doing some work. And someone said, "Do you do photography?" And I said, yeah, I do.
Hi Ben, how you doing?
Hello, good to meet you. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for joining.
No worries.
So, this is you're number 4 in our Photographers of Cambridge chat series. So, just really keen to chat with photographers in the city, and when I say in the city, got to talk to Cambridge United.
Definitely.
So, look, we're in the Abbey Stadium. Mm-hmm. So, lovely setup. Thankfully the groundsman's just finished. Decided to have a cup of tea. Maybe make that 2 cups of tea.
Yeah, definitely.
But tell us a bit about what you do.
So I'm here working for the club's media team.
Okay, yeah.
One of the photographers. There's 2 of us here, me and Simon. I've been doing it now for 6 years, 6 seasons.
Nice.
Home and away, down the training ground, anything club related that they need help with photography, predominantly stills. I'm there normally. Busy man, yeah.
Goodness. How does that go off season? Do you get a bit of time off?
Get a bit of time off in the summer, like footballers do. Obviously pre-season, you're waiting for the signings.
Yeah.
You're then getting last-minute phone calls to rush to the training ground to help make the announcements of the signings, new photos and stuff for the new players. It's all good fun.
Yeah, good.
So I've been here now as part of the media team at Cambridge United as one of the club photographers for 6 years.
Yeah.
Before that, when I was a kid, when I was at school, probably year 11, I worked in Andrew McCulloch's on a Saturday.
Oh yeah, nice.
Used to rival Campkins as a camera shop back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day.
And used to develop film and kind of got interested in developing 35mm, and then obviously saw the progress of digital being introduced. Started talking to local photographers that used to come in and get their stuff done. Used to pick up cameras and just play, and kind of spiral from there a little bit really. Used to go out obviously used to play football and rugby locally. Not at any great level, but grassroots level, and people would be like, "Oh, can you just come and take some shots of our game?"
Yeah.
Obviously when the weather was great, being a fair weather guy, I used to go out grassroots level and shoot mates' games every now and then for them. A bit of experience, a bit of playing around with cameras. Slowly started to build better kit up from Campkins then, and was here one day volunteering at the club doing some work, and someone said, "Do you do photography?" And I said, yeah, I do. Kind of, yeah. And I said, "All right, well, our club photographer, you know him, Simon, yeah. Well, he wants to have a year out. Do you fancy coming and having a go in pre-season?" So
brilliant.
Came in for a Cambridge City pre-season game down at Histon, funny enough, where they were playing.
Oh, yeah.
And didn't look back really. Kind of really spotted up before the game on what to expect, what's needed, what sort of kit you need. Didn't have massively great kit then. Spoke to a couple of other local photographers that I knew shot sport and kind of picked their brains. Went down, shot the game, and kind of been stuck here since really, I guess, in a way.
6 seasons?
6 seasons now, 6 seasons in, really enjoy it. Yeah. Lots of highs, lots of lows.
Well, a lifelong fan.
I have, yeah. I've been a fan of here since I was probably 6 or 7.
Wow.
Come with my family, so.
First match?
First match, I could barely see over the advertising boards in the Newmarket Road end with my cousin. And I can't remember who we played. But just the experience of being at the football match live in a stadium obviously got me hooked, and used to come ever since really.
Remember the Dion Dublin years before he went to Manchester and broke his leg, I think.
That's it.
And, was it quarter-finals? Two years in a row.
2 years in the bounce as well. Yeah.
Crystal Palace and Arsenal, I think.
That's
it was.
it.
Wow. So it's it's great.
Time flies. I think it's good as a fan as well. You got the best seat in the house, other than being on the pitch or other than being in the dugout with the gaffer.
Yeah.
You're sitting right there on the action, capturing the action for the fans, which is nice.
Yeah, good. When did you realise you were a sports photographer?
It's a good question. I think every day's a learning day, isn't it? You're still learning constantly.
Yeah.
Compared to people like Simon, who's here, that's been doing it for 10 years, you're still learning something new all the time. Predominantly, I would say, last season in particular, I got to shoot the Women's FA Cup final in front of a sold-out Wembley Stadium. And I remember standing with all Getty and all the other big guys on the side of the pitch and thinking, what's little old me doing here? Okay, this means that I'm actually doing something right to be shooting at Wembley. So probably that case there, probably away from Cambridge United.
Yeah.
And obviously always getting asked to go and do other photography is always nice, away from football, to try your hand at different sports. Makes you wonder, okay, am I actually a sports photographer? Am I actually doing right? So yeah, probably around those sort of examples.
That's pretty cool. You're at Wembley Stadium,
yeah, that's cool.
Iconic venue.
Yeah.
And so amongst the other photographers.
Mad scramble. I think there's about 50, 60 photographers, and the mad scramble at the end, obviously, for the presentation. Yeah. And we're one side of the pitch, and you have to run all the way around with everybody.
Jeez. Highs and lows of a season. Obviously, there's lots going on throughout every season. How do you make sure you capture those moments in the right way?
I think it's about always looking for the next shot, always been on the ball, pardon the pun.
Yeah, nice. Let's see what you did there.
And always having your wits about you. In that sense, like, obviously I am a fan of Cambridge United, but foremost on a match day, you're here as the club photographer. Yeah, so you have to act in that way, and you have to be making sure you capture everything. Like we discussed earlier about how when I first started as a photographer here, I used to, when the other team scored, still be in that fan mode of like, oh, we're losing again, great, this is bad, and negative. But now I'll spin round in front of the other team's fans and take photos of them celebrating, because I quite like those photos of like fans, galleries. It makes cool photos. And then like key moments, like in a game, if there's a sending off, obviously you want to be shooting constantly. Mm-hmm. If there's an injury, I remember speaking to Kat Goran, who I've spoke to before about a lot of experience, and shared tips with her, and she shared a lot with me and helped me a lot massively. And like we discussed about injuries, because there was a bad injury here once and I didn't want to shoot it. And she said, no, you should carry on shooting, it tells a story. Yeah. And okay, I agree. Like, so now if there's an injury on the pitch, like, you have to tell that. You're the club photographer. Like, people might need to see that for whatever reason later down the line. Yeah.
So life's full of trials and tribulations. So why not capture that in the club as well? Yeah. Yeah. That kind of knowledge of the sport then feels like that's pretty important.
I think it's important to try and anticipate the next move. Knowing how the team plays, how a team sets up, is always helpful. But if you don't, it's just kind of having an understanding of the sport you're shooting. Particularly football. I've been playing football since I was 7 years old. Okay, yeah. It's not going to change any time now. Yeah. It is my first sport. It's one of my loves. Like, you've got to be able to understand the sport in itself. I think we spoke off camera about when I went and shot lacrosse at Cambridge University. Oh, yeah, yeah. And I'd never actually watched a sport before.
What on earth is this?
And was asked to turn up and, can I shoot this? And it was a challenge, because you didn't know where the action was going to be next. We got some great photos out of it for the varsity, but at the same time, it was more of a challenge compared to football. I remember going to photograph swimming as well one year for Cambridge University at Parkside Pool, and not thinking about your camera's going to fog up inside, you're going to get splashed, you're going to have judges around the edge of the pool getting in the way, and just trying to think, oh, that's all right, I can do that. And again, it was getting a quick understanding and context of what you're shooting, and then trying to figure out the best way to get the best content. But thinking on your feet is always crucial, I think, in photography.
That's right, solving little problems here and there, isn't it? Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. There's obviously kind of, don't want to get too deep into it, but the story of the club and the team, and then there's individual stories. There's a lot to capture.
I think there's a lot to capture, especially on a match day. We get here around 12 o'clock. Okay. We're on the go constantly. We're shooting the players arriving. We're then having specific things we need to shoot for the sponsors. Leading up to the game, if there's some form of event on, we've now got some fan zones here at the Abbey. We have to photograph the singers in the fan zones. Okay. We're then constantly having a laptop set up, turning the photos round to send for the club so they can put out on the channels. We're then going out on the pitch, photographing the warm-up. Then we're looking to think about, okay, kickoff's fast approaching. We then photograph the game. Yeah. Post-match, the same thing again. Man the match. Photographing the players, been interviewed by the press, that sort of stuff. So you're constantly on the go from around 12 o'clock when you walk in to probably about 5:30, 6 when you finished editing and done your job for the day.
It's pretty intense, isn't it?
It's intense and it's busy, but it's nice to be busy.
And I imagine that because obviously, social media is so much part of kind of the media function of a football club. Yeah. Like all organisations, that it adds an extra speed, doesn't it, and volume to things.
It does indeed, yeah. Like, you want to be constantly engaging with your fan base that aren't here.
Yeah.
So we need to create the content out there for the guys up in the box behind us to put out onto the socials.
And so even though, you know, talking about, say, the best moments, you know, for you, actually, then your photography ends up maybe more national as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, indeed. Like, during the highs of promotion season, Newcastle, your photos obviously are in more demand for those big games.
Yeah.
It goes national.
Yeah.
And obviously it makes a big story. Cambridge beating Newcastle in the FA Cup. You're going to get those pictures further than you would say in a League One match against Sheffield Wednesday here or whoever. So yeah.
Was that your what would be some of your best moments in the club as a photographer?
As a photographer, it's a good question. Like, I always enjoy the media day we put on every year, where we get to meet all the new players and we kind of do headshots of the players. We do the team photo. It's quite full on and quite intense, but it's a good fun, and we kind of have a day of creating content with the new players, and it's a bit of a giggle.
Nice.
And getting to bed in the new players and know them. From highs, I think as a fan, I was lucky. I look at it now and I think I was really lucky that as a fan, during COVID, obviously the stadiums were empty, to still be able to come in and actually photograph that season. And obviously, unfortunately, we did get promoted when the fans weren't here.
Yeah,
but to be able to document that as a fan, and like, we're never going to get another season like that, I don't think, in terms of playing behind closed doors every week. And I think it was important to document that. And I think at times the media guys that were working at the time here took it for granted, because they just saw it as, yeah, we're coming, we're doing it, we need to do it. But when the dust settles and you look back, like, we were privileged to do that.
Yeah.
And it was an important time, and it was important to document the whole thing. I remember the team photo here, we had people set out on cones across this social distance between each other wearing face masks, and then we took the team photo once we had everybody in place, and they took their face mask off briefly, and that's how we done the team photo here.
I mean, look, that's like, yeah, extremely unique, isn't it? Historic as well.
Definitely.
And in years to come, that season will be talked about.
And I remember, like, even on the game against Grimsby when promotion was secured up to League One, the fans are at the back of the stadium, even trying to get out there to capture that as well, and those key moments of those memories will live with fans for long till they live. Yeah. Even like celebrating with the players in the car park for a fence, or on the back of the ticket office over there on the roof. Like, those scenes were amazing, and you just had to be there to capture those.
Even when you say things like fence, you know, and just the depth and different there, that's amazing.
And even like, I remember going to Newcastle, and we went up on the Friday evening. We had a night out, and we all said we're not going to go too mad because we've got a big day tomorrow. Didn't imagine in our wildest dreams that we'd beat obviously Newcastle, but we did, and then ended up having a nice celebration on the Saturday as well.
Brilliant.
So it's all good.
So do you on that situation in Newcastle, you went to a massive match, massive club, and you win. Mm-hmm. Did you then, after the match with the fans, how did you approach that? Did you get in the mix with things?
No, I think you have to stay professional, unfortunately. It is hard at times as a fan to not shout, not scream, not celebrate when a key goal goes in or is a key moment in the game that doesn't go against you. But at the forefront, you're here representing the football club on the side of the football pitch. You're a photographer the foremost. You need to be professional. After, when you're with your mates in the pub, then you can have a little drink and a celebration. Newcastle, obviously, two of us were Cambridge United fans, 3 of us even that were in the media team. So we did end up running across the pitch and taking photos of the players celebrating in front of the fans. But we obviously can't celebrate until after. So yeah, we had a drink after. I've always brought my gear from Campkins, and I remember going there the first time to pick up my first camera and being a bit nervous and going, oh, how do I use this? What do I do? And just going out and just not being afraid to try things. Just go and speak to different people. You're always learning. Often at games, if I see like the big agencies here like Getty, I'll have a chat with them and say, oh, what's that behind the goal? What are you doing with this?
Nice.
What angle are you using here? What lens are you using for that? How do you do this? And I think it's about just not being afraid to ask questions yourself, because you're constantly learning. And then knowledge is power, isn't it? Like, you build up experience by doing things. If you just sit behind and go, okay, I'm not going to try that, you're not going to gain anything.
It's true, actually. There's maybe that kind of seek of perfection, which I suppose is applicable to lots in life, isn't it? That can stop you from learning stuff and actually being worried about getting things wrong or asking questions.
I think you've got to ask questions, and I always look at it as pre-season. I hate pre-season because it's meaningless, apart from the players getting fitness in their tank. But I also use it for getting my eye back in.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's
like,
it's your pre-season.
Because you've gone all summer without probably picking up your camera, shooting football.
Yeah.
Suddenly you need to get your eye back in to make sure you get the shots.
Yeah.
But as I said to you earlier, off camera, also anyone can pick up a camera. It's about having that creative eye and knowing what shots look good and what people like the football club want in terms of their media that they're looking for. I think that's key as well. And knowing the sport. Like the other season we had a player here that was a 6'5" centre forward, and every time we lumped the ball forward to him, so you knew straight away when we had a goal kick, the ball's going forward, okay, aim the camera for there. Where this season we're playing a different direction of football, so you're constantly moving, watching the game through your viewfinder.
That's really interesting, I think. And also the thing about knowing a bit about the individual, so from a technical perspective, knowing that the centre forward is a big guy and he's probably going to get it on his head, from the goal kick. But also, is there something about knowing the individuals in the team or in the squad, because maybe someone might have an injury, perhaps. It might be certain things you maybe there's. I think
it's knowing people's
they've had
traits,
a bad
isn't
season,
it?
perhaps maybe, and they need to. There's a chance where they can redeem things. I don't know. Is there anything in there?
I think there is a little bit. Like again, players' traits, players' skills. Certain players do certain things. We've got a player that plays here. I won't name him, but every time he runs down the wing, he has his tongue sticking out. So you always know of different traits of players. You get to see how different people play, people's body language and stuff. You have to pick up on that as a photographer.
It's been a good chat. Really appreciate it. I know you're a busy man, so it's just fantastic to
see you.
Get in the stadium. And I tell you what, we'll see you at the show.
Yeah, indeed.
Or if not, we'll see you.
see you in the shop.
Indeed.